everybody, it's Becky Pearson with Pivot Point of View. I'm joined with my co-host Destry Millsap, and today we have the great honor of talking to Jerri Duce. Jerri is a 9-time Canadian champion barrel racer. She was the first Canadian woman to ever qualify for the NFR in Oklahoma City back in 1975, I believe. And she's been inducted into the Canadian Pro-Rodeo Hall of Fame. And she is and has been a trick rider almost her entire life. And that's how I was aware of Jerri Duce. And you performed this year at the Canadian Finals in trick riding. Is that correct?
That is correct. They were having a retro night, and Jillian Grant got the inspiration to see if I could still do it because I trick rode there at CFR 1 50 years ago with my sister Joy. And I said, sure. And that's how it happened.
Wow. Well, did that bring up any anxiety at being 72 years old? Like, to still be able to trick ride is amazing.
Well, no. I think because I've always tried to stay strong and fit and keep my core strong, I felt like I could do it. I decided the Friday before I better go pick a horse. I had a couple of little trick riders offer me whichever one I wanted. And I thought, well, I'll go see if I break. And I didn't. So we went on with it. And it was so much fun. I just enjoyed every minute of it. And I did not expect the reaction that it caused.
Yeah. Well, it is amazing. So, so we are a health and wellness podcast, and Destry and I'm a physical therapist. Destry's an athletic trainer. And so we help people with their workout routines so that they can stay strong and stay in the saddle. So do you mind sharing with us what you do to stay fit enough to still trick ride at your age?
Well, probably a big part of that is I work in the film industry. We're saddling horses all the time, riding all the time. On my weekends, I go off and I barrel race. I have two great little horses, one big, one little horse. And so that's part of it, all the work involved that everybody does. But over the years, I really enjoy physical fitness, and I've tried everything back from running, years ago, weightlifting, and I kind of learned to follow what was good for my body. Hey, I learned that the stretching was the very best. I loved way back when I discovered the Jane Fonda yoga book and went through that page by page, and I loved that. So then as I ran out of time in life, you get busy, you can't do it all. I incorporated some of those movements into my little routine, which I would try to do. I'd roll out the yoga mat and in the evening and try to do something every night or at least 5 times a week. I had a nice little ab workout. Again, not too long. And I loved back to the yoga move where you bend over backwards and do back bends and the leg up, that kind of thing. Kept me really in good shape. And other than that, my big tip is I love chin-ups and I like pull-ups, not the easy kind, and push-ups. And to this day, like all year, I was doing 75 push-ups every day. And that's a big thing. And so that kept me strong, and I knew I could hold my body in those tricks.
Yeah. Wow. Well, kudos to you. And that you've learned, like, throughout your lifetime, you've done
Right.
it to maintain. Yeah. And so good habits established very young. That's awesome.
Yeah. I tell young people everywhere to stretch, because in the long scheme of things, it pays off for you as you age. And I just shake my head when I see young people try to touch their toes and they can't, so stretch. And also, your diet is a part of that too. I'm a believer of find out what nourishes your body, what makes you feel good. and find a program there. And yeah, and that's about it, really.
Yeah. So trick riding can be very dangerous. And my youngest daughter, she wanted to trick ride when she was probably about 10, 11, 12-ish, and started off on a little pony that was not trained for trick riding, but
Yeah,
did take her to the Karen Vold trick riding school near Pueblo. Do you know Karen?
I know Karen very well.
Okay.
And once Karen said this to me, and after I'd started my trick riding school, I'd been into it a few years, and she said, "Jerri, you saved trick riding because that time there, it was dying out a bit." But I'll tell you how that all started. I would teach maybe one-on-one here and there, but one of the moms came to me and. Kelsey Yule was her name, and she had a daughter, Piper, just a little tiny thing. And she wanted to know how you go somewhere and learn safely.
Mhm.
So she drummed up we got some of the good trick riders together, and we formed a Canadian Trick Riding Association where we would have credited, like you couldn't just go, people would know that it was safe then to go to this coach and that coach. And we would have a clinic and then a contest, afterward. And there'd be 3 or 4 contests in the year, and then you'd go for at a finals, a Canadian Trick Riding Championship in the different age groups. And we did have one and that started back in the U.S. too. Originally, some of the girls had went to one that Tad Griffith had organized in. I'm not sure where it was now. Maybe I'm not really sure. But anyway, after that, then we had a Canada, one versus US one, and it really is still going in Canada. So it's so helpful, and by good instruction, and the everyone knows it's safe. Everyone is that's the priority. Teach kids and their horses in a step-by-step manner and keep them all safe.
Yeah. Now, what I was reading, doing my research on you beforehand, I think I read somewhere that you and your sister wanted to trick ride. So your dad bought a book that was like 100 ways to break your neck or something like that.
Yes, we were at my dad was a rodeo cowboy and my 2 uncles. And when he quit, we got into horse training, and there was a big horse sale every spring at Calgary. And one of the fellows there, Ken Buxton, I remember his name well, and he had a trick riding saddle sitting on the stall. And Joy and I just said, "Dad, we want it," but we didn't really know what it was. So he bought it, and he did because he had seen some trick riding across the line. And just after we got home and we're kind of looking through it, in the Western Horseman, there was a trick and fancy riding book by James. Oh gosh, I'm going to forget the name. Dean was the last name. Frank Dean, I think. And it was called 144 Ways to Break Your Neck. And we went page by page, um, and there's some mistakes in there. We learned that you don't, you kind of use common sense too.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't imagine trying to learn that stuff from a book and how to do that safely. Um, it, it it really opened my eyes when I was there at the trick riding school with Gracie, and all of the safety that Karen had shown at her school, and the importance of the horse. That, I mean, we took a very safe pony. He was a big pony, but he would stop. And most horses, when you fall off or get out of balance, they will stop. Well, that's not a good thing to have in a trick riding horse.
No, it's not. And horse I was training for trick riding, and he was a rope horse. So every time you would go to dive toward the front end, he would slam to a stop, and it took a lot of work to get him going out of that habit. Hey, but yeah, when we were young, we had our trick riding horses, and then we thought, oh, it'd be smart to trick ride on our barrel horses. So we tried that for a bit. But then that was too much for barrel racing and trick riding on them. So then in that Frank Dean trick riding book, I actually saw a picture in the very back of it, and I saw this good-looking Palomino. At least I think he was a Palomino horse. It was a black and white picture, but with a beautiful mane and tail. And I decided after that, that's all I would trick ride on. And pretty much that's what I did.
Ah, interesting.
The picture was of Dick Griffith, who was a very famous trick rider. And then there was in his day, and then Tad and Connie carried that on with the Griffith family as well.
Okay, so you only wanted to trick ride on Palominos.
Well, for me, yeah, my sister wasn't as particular, but I thought the whole package needed to look beautiful. Beautiful horse, beautiful white saddle, lots of color in the costumes. And part of why we gained fame was two things. We went faster than other trick riders did. We wanted to go full speed ahead. And my mother was a really good seamstress, and she made so many costumes and decorated them so beautifully. And we added new blankets and leg wraps and different things that trick riders had never thought of. Hey, so we were colorful and coordinated, and even the rodeo crowd who saw us, performing all the time would want to see what we were wearing, what our horses were wearing, and that was, a big part of our success as well. Here's my mother from a little town in Granham, 300 people, ordering lame fabric from New York City. Hey,
that's awesome. So with trick riding being so dangerous, have you sustained some like serious injuries, or have you been pretty lucky to not have that happen?
Well, we started trick riding when we were very young, and really we didn't have much for injuries then. The injuries usually came about when the ground wasn't very good, and they'd be going faster on the corner and maybe fall down. Or one year at the Calgary Stampede, it rained every day, and they said, try not to go close to the chutes because it's down to cement. And I remember watching Joy take off. She was doing a backward fender, and the horse fell down and slid 30 feet. She's under the horse and in mud. It was like wet mud. Hey, and she gets up, and she was fine. She wasn't hurt. And away she went, but she was mud from head to toe, and the white thing was her when she opened her eyes. Hey? And I had to go, and but my horse didn't fall. But it was like, things like that. I have hurt a shoulder, and occasionally something goes wrong, but as a rule, not too bad.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's Gracie. We went out to the NFR, and they had a trick riding competition in the convention center in Las Vegas. And so we were watching that, and Gracie was still trick riding. And I looked at her and I said, Gracie, we're at the point where if you're going to continue to do this, we need to get you a horse that is trained specifically for this. And about that time, one of the girls wiped out. Like, I can't remember exactly how, but she was hanging off the side, and something happened and she fell off. And Gracie kind of looked at me and she goes, I think I'm okay, Mom. I think I'll barrel race from now on. And I was okay with that too. But it was great to have her learn that and to see the amount of strength that it took. I mean, I just admire you guys for the amount of strength and coordination that it does give you, for sure.
Well, now that you mentioned that, I was a judge at that competition with Candy Rose Griffith. Hey, I was there, and when we had trick riding from early till late. There were a lot of kids performing, and it was great. But yes, it trick riding also has, a way of teaching you how to protect yourself. Like when we always like when we would it would say if somebody came off, push your body out, roll away from the horse, or don't panic. If your leg goes through a rein, lift your leg out, and really and truly, trick riding helps balance, helps your horsemanship quite a lot.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, for sure. If someone were wanting to get into trick riding, are there some things that I think like a lot of the trick riders at the school had already participated in gymnastics. Are there some things that you would highly recommend someone doing before they get into trick riding?
Exactly that. The gymnastics, it's like or figure skating, any of that stuff. It makes it much easier to jump into trick riding, and definitely that's a good thing. And the other thing is, I say, be strong, because you need upper body strength if you want to learn the harder tricks. And but yeah, gymnastics is wonderful.
Cool.
Jerri, you rodeoed all over the place. What was your favorite place to rodeo?
To rodeo, or are we talking trick riding or barrel racing?
Either one. What was your favorite place to go? Give me a
Re-
few. Yeah.
I really liked, we trick rode at, and barrel race, of course, at the Madison, in New York at Madison Square Gardens. And my dad rodeoed there. So that was, really special to go there. I always liked the Albuquerque rodeo. The Cow Palace was fun. But some of my really fun experiences later on were in teaching trick riding. I actually went to Germany and I judged a competition between Russian Cossack riders and the North American style, and did a little coaching while I was over there. And that was a lot of fun, and one of my best memories. But I have so many. I trick rode and flew to Bermuda and trained horses there, flew to Japan and trained horses there. I took some kids coaching on a trick riding competition to Sydney, Australia. That was fun. Barrel racing, I liked it everywhere. I love the sport. I love the challenge, and it was good everywhere. Oh, and I go way back to even an Expo 67 in Montreal. I trick rode there with some great US trick riders, and it was, yeah, I've had a lot of good experiences. It's hard to select just a couple.
Absolutely. What do you look for in a trick horse and or a barrel horse?
In a trick riding horse, I want one that, if you see kids crawling all over a horse, he'll make a good one. That doesn't always mean he'll make one that'll run really fast, but you want a kind, non-spooky type of a horse, like a good rodeo horse often will make a good trick riding horse, but they don't all have the desire when you turn them free to run and follow the pattern perfect. So you go through a few to find that really great one. And it's not much different in barrel racing. Hey, you get them trained, you run, you clock, and you see how you do. But I just like them well put together, conformation. But I like the mind. I like to be a team. So whether it's my barrel horse or a trick riding horse, I want to know they want to keep me safe too. And we work together as a team. I don't know how else to explain that, but the ones I truly love me as well.
I love that.
What types of horses do you like to use for trick riding? Like, what bloodlines and stuff like that?
I wouldn't go for bloodlines, but I just like a quarter horse. That's all I've ever I like one, and you have to go by your height. You know, if you're 5'4", that was my size. I wanted one, you know, between 14 and 15 hands, so I could do the groundwork, the vaulting. I liked a stout horse because one of my favorite tricks was the Stroud layout hanging off the side. So you needed a horse that could balance that well. I liked ones that were good on their back end because, you know, I train my horses run and stop in the corner hard and then do a rollback to come out of it. So kind of, you know, what you look for in many events, you look for in a trick riding horse, the very same.
And you did that Stroud layout at this year's Canadian Finals, right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
You know, and nothing was perfect. Hey, I dug out my old saddle and I thought the stirrups were too short and they couldn't go any longer. So I didn't like that, but I went on with it. And I just tried to go by muscle memory. Hey, and I guess I had enough nerve. Hey, just to go do it. And yeah, I just knew I could. And it was, that was probably the experience of my lifetime right there with the crowd and everything.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I do believe you had a standing ovation. I seen correctly on the videos. That was cool.
Yeah. Yes, I did. And I've had, and then my phone blew up and I had so many people say they were crying during it, but it was such a wonderful crowd because they grew up watching, you know, me in the arena, and the rodeo crowd is all ages. Hey, so I couldn't have been in a better spot.
Well, and trick riding is such an art form too. I mean, it's so nice to see people with your experience keeping that going and bringing it on to the younger generations, just like with any other event or anything like that in the rodeo world.
Oh, exactly. People have to know where to go, hey, but it's so much easier now with the World Wide Web, hey. You can find things fast, and so you can always find you know, clinicians and people to call for help. And in fact, actually, I'm going on Monday to help a girl, a young girl. She's having trouble with her Stroud, and so and there's another one coming. And I haven't coached in quite a long time because I work in the film industry, and that takes all my time. But yeah, it's, you know, she saw me do it, so they were begging me to come, and so I'm looking forward to that too. And when I go to Arizona in the winter, there's a few people that, you know, always say, "Oh, could you show me a few things?" So, you know, it's a fun thing to do, but it is so much easier now with the internet to, you know, accomplish those goals.
Yeah.
How did you get into the film industry? What exactly do you do there?
Well, the trick riding got me into it because the very first movie that came to Alberta was Buffalo Bill and the Indians, starring Paul Newman and Joel Grey, and I think Robert Altman was the director. And it was about a Wild West show. So Jerry and Joy were written into the script, hey, and we were trick riding in it. And rodeo people, it's very natural to get into stunts, and then when they you know, slow down in that end, there's either transport or wrangling, and I love to wrangle. And so you just kind of ride all the horses, make sure they're very good for any actor who gets on. There's always you just guide them, and you're always close by and at their start point, and there'll be another wrangler at their end point, and it's just a natural thing, you know, that I'm good at to and everyone else who are wrangling. They always hire good people that can handle a horse to keep them good. So it's kind of natural from rodeo. There's a lot of rodeo cowboys or you know, and girls that go into that field.
I see. What movies and shows have you helped with?
Well, Shang Hi Noon was a really fun one with Jackie Chan, one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Duval and Costner. That was a fun one and we had a lovely, it was done all through the summer and the weather was great and we're moving a lot of cattle. It was a cattle drive. That one was a lot of fun. Um, uh, I did Billy the Kid, that starring Tom Blythe. I know there's a lot of Billy the Kid movies, but you guys should watch that. It's very good. And it's starting back up in February. So I'll be going back on that show. And I just finished one called The Abandons that is it filmed all year and we just wrapped last Friday. And it's an 1850s period show, so starring some really good characters. So that was fun to work on too.
Cool. I would imagine that to get involved with that, it's almost like you need to have a connection in the industry, because like you can't just show up and say, hey, I know how to handle a horse. Like you probably, my guess is if you know of somebody that handles a horse very well and is good with horses, like, and that might be something that they would want to get into, you're going to be able to get them in there more so than just somebody showing up on a set. Or how does a person get involved with the movies other than, you were in trick riding? So
yeah, it's kind of who, like, I hate to say it, but it is a lot of who you know. If you know somebody and they recommend you, or you just sometimes you can get on a show if it's very busy, but it is unionized. And if there's lots of shows working, then they need more people, then new people can come in. But it does help to know somebody who will say, yeah, this person would be really good.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool that you got to work with Duval and Costner. They're some of my favorite actors, especially in the Western industry.
Yeah, and I got to work on the Scarlet Letter A with Demi Moore and Duval too. So worked with him twice, and Costner also did a show called Let Him Go, and I got to do some doubling for Diane Lane on that one. That was fun, and it's kind of a small world in the movie industry as well, and it's thriving here in Alberta.
Now, going into winter, will things kind of slow down? You go to Arizona, though, it sounds like.
Right. I'm going to leave December 1st. I like to do that because I kind of work all year just to be able to go and enjoy that time. And I barrel race. And if it's hard because like one thing about the movie industry, it's like 2 full-time jobs in a day. So often you're working because you start earlier than the film crew and you don't wrap when they do. You've still got to get the horses put away and back to wherever you're keeping them. So it consumes your life, like you can work 16, 18-hour days. A 14-hour day would seem like, a light day. And it kind of consumes you and that's all you do. And so that I enjoyed taking the break and going south. And last winter, though, we had last year, we had the writers' strike and then the actors' strike. So we didn't have a lot of work. We kept trying to prep the abandons and then it got stopped and then we tried again and then it got stopped and then everything shut down. So I didn't go anywhere. But as it turned out, Billy the Kid filmed, and up here you realize it's cold up here. November, December, January, and February. So it was a lot of heated vests and gloves and to get through the winter. But the show, I think, turned out amazing.
We will have to catch those. We'll have to go. Any other things that you really feel like, you living the life that you've had, very exciting, very almost like a fairy tale type of life in what you have done. Do you have some words of wisdom for us younger generations and young, people in their 20s aspiring to do some exciting things in their life. You have some words of wisdom for us.
Oh gosh, well, I would have to say just whatever you choose to do, find something you love to do, because if you have a job and you love it, it doesn't feel like a job. And for me, it was all about life with a horse. Hey, that everything I did, everywhere I went was because of what I could do, in that field. And so don't think that you can't go all over the world, like especially now in this time and age with the internet, it's amazing. But just do what you love. That's my big thing that I would say.
Yeah, I think some of the stuff that you hear and you read is do what you love and the money will follow. Like when you're that passionate about something, you will do it so well that other people will find value in it and you will be able to make a living doing it. So,
well, I think you're right there. It's I don't know, for me, it's just the teamwork between horse and rider. That's what I like. I like to find the horses that I totally love, and I know they totally love me, and that just isn't easy. You don't just go and find those, sometimes it takes a long time, and the one that might be biggest in your heart, isn't what you expected either. You might just have this super keen relationship. I had one with the trick riding horse I had. His name was Paige, and literally he followed me around. I never had to lead him. And when I'm young and a cowboy would come up to talk to me, this horse would absolutely bare his teeth like he was going to turn and bite him, and or lift his leg up like he wanted to kick him. And he never did either. But if they touched him, he would shake his head. It was just like, get away from her. Hey, and he was the best trick riding horse that I ever had. And yeah, and it's unions like that make it so special.
absolutely. Absolutely.
They really are the best part of us. And
Yeah.
You're right. There's some that you really like and they just maybe don't fit you or really don't like you back, or,
Yeah.
for whatever reason. But the ones that are truly, I guess people would call them your heart horses or whatever. I mean, there's nothing better for your soul than those types of horses.
That's right. And you don't ever feel bad. Like I always tell people, it's kind of like sometimes you and your horse are like this. And it's just an energy thing. And you just want to wait till it's like that. And it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong, or, it's in any way your fault. It's just an energy thing, and you just work until you look until you find that perfect blend or meld of energy, and then you've got the one you're looking for.
And those horses, they love their jobs, and that's what people don't always realize outside of the industry is that, they look at it like these horses are, mistreated or whatever it is that they look at them like. These horses love their job, and they will put themselves on the line for you every time, and it's easy to do that for them as well.
Oh, totally. Right down to the like the bucking stock, for example. The breeding programs that all these contractors have they're producing such great horses in that field, but they're feeding them supplements, and they're giving them the best care, and they look wonderful, and they just strut around. Hey, they are so well cared for, and a lot of people don't realize that the money we all, in whatever field you're in, that you put into your animals, and it's just inspiring, really. And when in my day, the change in bucking horses, chuck wagon horses, everything has improved because of knowledge and prize money and awards, for different great animals. And it's just wonderful to see. And like, I really like to watch bucking horses, and I even like more to watch the pickup man on their great horses, and the love that everyone has for what they do and the animals they use, and that's just a fact.
Mm-hmm. So is there anything that you regret that you had said no to that you wish you would have said yes to, or something that you said yes to that you wish you would have said no to?
Let me think on that. One little regret I had was one time, well, we could have went to Chicago to trick ride, and it was kind of a winter rodeo, and I'd always heard so many things about Chicago, and you had to lock everything up in those days, near where the rodeo was. And I remember I told my dad I didn't want to go there, and he always just shook his head, and I regret that, because now I like, Chicago is a wonderful city, and I'd love to have gone there. But I don't think so. I pretty much did everything. I didn't say no to any of the trips. It was a little way back in the early 80s. They flew my sister and I and our horses to England, and we kept our trick riding horses at the King's Troops in London, and that was pretty fabulous. And in situations like that, that's a little intimidating. We heard you trick out on grass, and but we did it, so I don't have too many regrets, really.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Well, I sure appreciate you taking time to join us today, and you're an inspiration, Jerri. I hope I'm not going to take up trick riding, but I hope I can stay as fit as you, and as active. And I sure hope people find this inspiring as well. So, Destry, do you have anything else for Jerri that you'd like to ask?
No, ma'am. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experiences, and what an incredible lady. And you've done so many amazing things, and it's just so inspiring to hear you talk about all of those experiences.
Well, thank you both. I really enjoyed it as well.
Well, thank you. So as we get ready to close it out, I guess I can take the tagline today. As always, please let your health be the pivot point to your success.